Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1970s.
The house is doing things. Windows opening by themselves, a room full of flies at the wrong time of the year. And you saw what happened to Greg's hand. Last night, the front door was ripped off his hinges from the inside.
This is episode 264, reviewing the Amityville Horror from 1979, recorded March 25th, 2026.
Gruesome Magazine.
I am your host, Doc Rodden, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1970 and 1979. Each episode, my co-host and I will tackle another classic or not so classic film from this wondrous, groovy, gory, and influential decade. With me this week is my co-host, Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special guest guru, and published author.
Yeah. Chad sounded like every person I've ever had to sit next to on a bus.
That was the goal.
I am a magnet for lunatics. I don't know. I just must have that kind of face. They're like, here's someone who will politely listen to my rantings.
I can see that happening.
Yeah.
Of course, also joining us is Chad Hunt, a writer and director of his own right with Wreak Havoc Productions, and a comic book artist as well.
Yeah.
How you doing, Chad?
I'm good. As long as my medicine holds up, I'm good.
Well, let's hope it does.
Yeah.
What are you measuring for? All right. So tonight we are going to be reviewing the Amityville Horror from 1979, which is a favorite book of mine. And we'll talk about the movie part of it here in a little bit. But we're going to dive into the cast of characters. We'll dive into taglines. We'll talk about the actors, the promotion, the director, and all kinds of shenanigans that went into this film. And then we'll wrap up tonight with some feedback from our listeners. And we really hope you'll stick around for that. And of course, we hope you'll also provide feedback, which you can easily do. And then you can also like and subscribe and share with a friend, which will help us find more horror fans just like you. And from our wonderful YouTube, all the goodies they provide, we could use more.
Yeah.
The more weirdos, the better.
You come and you visit.
That's right.
You just don't subscribe.
Yeah.
All right. Enough of that pettiness of me, but we're going to get into everything. Let's start off with, I'm sorry, it's my job.
Petty daddy.
All right. All right. We're going to review Amityville Horror 1979, directed by Stuart Rosenberg. It is written by Sandor Stern, based on the book by Jay Anson, and based by the story by George Lutz and Kathy Lutz. The cast includes James Brolin, Margot Kidder, Rod Steiger, Don Stroud, Murray Hamilton, John Larch, Natasha Ryan, Casey Martell, and Mino Palusse. Production company is American International Pictures, AIP, Cinema 77, and Professional Films. The release date was July 27th, 1979 in the United States. The budget was a cool $4.7 million estimated, and the box office pulled in bank at $86 million. Good for them, especially in 1979.
For sure.
Synopsis is newlyweds George and Kathy Lutz and their 3 children move into the house that they hope will be their dream home, but it all ends up in terror. Yes, exactly. So now we're going to start off with, when did we first see this film? What was our first impression? And what do we think of it today? I picked this, but we're still going to start off with Jay.
I can't remember. I saw this. I think I saw it when it first came out. It was very early on. I remember that. I can't remember if it was in the theater or if I rented it or something like that. But yeah, known about it for years and watched it multiple times. But yeah, this is a scary movie for back then. I remember everybody was talking about it. Everybody, oh gosh, it's so scary, and it's based on a true story. And you come to find out things like that aren't so true after all, as time goes on. But I loved the James Brolin and Margot Kidder. I think they're wonderful in this movie. The opening scenes alone with the murders at the beginning are enough to chill your blood, especially back in the 70s when this came out. You didn't see we're not as jaded back then as we are now. So to see those things are kind of shocking and sort of drag you into it. This was sort of the Conjuring of the 1970s. This movie was, and yeah, I love it. I thought it was really, really the scene with Rod Steiger when he comes in to bless the house is just iconic. What an iconic scene, everybody that says something about a haunted house always goes, "Get out."
Yep.
And so this it's left its mark on pop culture and movies and stuff like that. And yeah, it's great. It's a great film. And I was more interested, actually, to tell you the truth, about Rod Steiger's character and the stuff he was going through this time around when I watched it. I wanted to know more about, what he was going through. He was having a really tough time dealing with this ghost demon, whatever it was. He did what it told him to do, get out, and he got out, but it was still, wouldn't leave him alone, even outside of the house. And so it was great stuff. And you just saw the decay of the family unit itself falling apart. And you saw they were such a loving family at the beginning. Just to see it start to really, really fall apart towards the end was really a good. I enjoyed that quite a bit. So, yeah, I still love watching it. I still respect it for what it is. It's an icon of a horror movie. It's an essential haunted house film if you're in the haunted house movies. Yeah. And and it there's some parts that don't hold up as much as they used to, but that's just a product of us living in the now and knowing what it was like back then. So
yeah, it did grab the attention. It's interesting that you brought up The Conjuring because the Warrens, Ed and Lorraine, were involved with the actual Amityville Horror, but they didn't make it into the screen. And I'm trying to remember if they were in the book. I feel like they are, but I can't remember for certain. I haven't read the book in years. But it's interesting you brought that up. I like that. It is something on their resume, I suppose, if you want to put it that way. Bill Mulligan, sir. When did you first see this? What did you think of it? Your first impression? And what did you think of it?
If the Warrens are involved, this is 100% legit. Of course. Yeah. I read the book because I was, based on a true story and it seemed pretty scary. I don't remember a lot about the book. What I remember, and I may be wrong, is it's one of those things with a lot of exclamation points, and then there was a bunch of flies on the wall. Like, okay.
More dirty.
I mean, this is not one of my favorites, but in fairness, haunted house movies are one of my least favorite horror genres. They do nothing for me. I'm not ghosts in general and haunted houses in particular. It's like leave. So I will say this is the one. The most anxiety I have watching this movie is the scene where they can't find the money, the envelope full of money, because I can relate to that. Like I know I had it, and I don't know if it was the ghost screwing with them or what, but it's like, yeah, man, I'm feeling for you. I know what it's like. You buy a house, maybe it's a little more house than you wanted to buy. You got a mortgage, and now suddenly, the toilet bowl is full of the blackest goo that has ever been found. It's like, oh, just one. And I think that's really what the story was. These poor people, they got in over their heads and had to figure out a way to legitimately get out of this deal. It's like, it's haunted. Well, give us our money back. Watching it now, boy, I just really could not get into it, but every now and then it would pull me in, but it was usually for the wrong reasons. Like when they're like, oh my God, this house, we just spent $50,000 on a house. I'm like, oh, if only, you know, or the way the realtor is sort of being disapproving of they just got married, but they already have 3 kids. What's that all about? How does that happen? It's a mystery. And you're like, wait, yeah, there was a time when the idea of a blended family, I guess, was shocking for its time. Wow.
Even though the Brady Bunch was on TV, right? So,
yeah, exactly. You know, maybe they both lost their spouses in a car accident or something, but whatever. Yeah, you know, I think it's just that the one haunted house movie that I unabashedly love is Poltergeist. And this one reminded me of, like, you know, B-level Poltergeist, even to the point where they go running out in the rain when they finally decide, screw the mortgage, we're leaving. And this is no Poltergeist, but good actors. Yeah, it did. Good actors. It just needed, you know what? It needed what Poltergeist had, which is we're building up to something. Like half the people, they just walking up to the house with a casserole, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, if they're the least bit sensitive, they're like, there's something wrong here. It's evil. You know, the nun has to go running, and the guy's girlfriend, she freaks out. And it's like, oh, there's all this. There's something. This house is so evil that people who are in tune with these things know that it's evil. Okay, great, good setup. Where's the climax? Where's the skeletons popping out of the pool or something? You know, all we get is a flash of a pig's head, and you know, the dog's freaking out. I really wanted
blood's dripping from the walls.
Yeah, blood's dripping from the walls. But again, you know, that wasn't nearly as scary as the black stuff in the toilet. And the fact that the poor guy fell into it is like, oh God, there's not enough antibiotics on Earth. So good setup, but I think in some ways it was constrained by the fact that they were trying to be true to the true story, and they should have done what some of the sequels did, which is just like, yeah, throw that out and let's put a shark in there or something, whatever.
Shark.
A lot of Amityville stuff. But you know, it was a huge hit, and Amityville walked so that other films could run.
Well, and, hey, that's a good way to put it. I like
that. And I mean, the fact that it did so well is also, you know, that studios always respond to what makes money. And probably a lot of movies, 70s movies that I like a lot better than this one might not have gotten greenlit if this one hadn't had such a return on its investment.
Right.
So I enjoyed watching it again, but it didn't move me any more than it really did. I saw this in the theater when it first came out. I wasn't going to miss this. I thought the ads for it were pretty good. The ads made it seem way scarier than it ended up being.
Yeah, they focused on the get out, which is frightening. And that's in the early part of the movie.
I always, whenever I hear that though, I always think of Richard Pryor's routine. And he was talking, it's like, that's the difference between black people and white people. It's like, you know, black people move into a house and say, oh man, we got this great house. It's in a terrific neighborhood. I really like it. Get out. Too bad we can't stay. Whoop. And they're out of there. Like, no, siree. White folks got a mortgage. We're not. Hey, listen, Buster, we're not leaving here. We got 30 years to pay this off. So.
You better get a job.
Oh my God. Oh man. So this one is interesting story for me because I was a huge fan of the book. I probably read the book 3 times by the time I saw the movie. I really loved this book. I thought it gripped me. I loved the fact that it was based on a true story and nobody had debunked it yet, right? It wasn't debunked. It was kind of like this at the moment, right? Now people say it's not true. So it kind of feels, it doesn't hold as much as it used to. But I was really a fan, and I remember when I went to the theater, I felt slightly disappointed in it because it actually doesn't follow the book close enough. It doesn't really capture the book or at least my 14-year-old self didn't think that. Might have been a little presumptuous of me, but you know, it was a little disappointing, but I did enjoy it. I've come to appreciate it more over time, and I even like it better now because I'm so divorced in time from the book itself, right? So I think it actually is. I like this story. I think it's, you know, it holds up. But the ending is a little quick. But that's what they did back then. They didn't really toy. And they did. I mean, this one actually does kind of extend it because George, you know, they're actually away, but George has to go back for the dog. So they do kind of, you know, kind of pull you back in for one last little set of scares. And the door locks, and he falls into the thing to get the dog, right? And the dog pulls him out, which was great. The dog saved him.
That's true.
So yeah. But in the book, there's so much more Jody than we get in this. And I was, the Jody is the scariest thing in the book. Yeah. And we get like a lot of talk of him. We see him twice. So anyway, but a real cool story about it is that my dad got mad at me because I wanted to go see, and he took me to go see The Incredible Melting Man, which I think was 2 years prior to this, or at least 1 year. And he didn't like it. I didn't like it, and we left. And he was mad because I spent the money. We spent the money and didn't see the whole movie. He didn't take me to movies again until 1979.
That's what
and it was. I mean, just me, right? We went to a couple things as a family, but just to take me to just me and him. Yeah. So we saw Alien together, which was great. We saw this together. But yeah, man, he was mad. So this is one of the movies.
Kid wasting my money.
Oh man, I paid for that.
You get one chance to impress your dad, and you pick The Incredible Melting Man. It's like,
right.
It's got the word "incredible" in the title.
But it's the newest monster in 50 years. You know?
That's right.
But back to this movie, I thoroughly enjoyed watching it again. It's what is it like? I'm not going to say how many years it is, but a span of time. Some of the things, you know, don't quite register the same way they did, you know, or have been, you know, like the Get Out has been used so many different ways and different times that it doesn't hold the gravity it had then. But that opening scene, that was a great way to start off the movie.
It was.
Yeah.
As soon as they get in there and you're, you know, he's running for his life, and you know, doors are slamming, flies are appearing, and it's crazy. But so you're already on edge in the first 15, 20 minutes, maybe. You know, after because they show a little bit about, you know, the Fayos, and then they come to see the house all of a sudden, and then they get settled, and then while they're out getting ready to go on a boat, the priest comes and
just walks in like, you know, nobody locked their doors back then. It was a different time.
That was real. I mean, people would. They would just come in and go, "Hey, is anybody home?" Yeah.
Hello.
Nowadays, if you did that, you might get shot. But yeah. So I have a special place. This movie and the story has a special place in my heart because of the time and the story and the book and everything. And I was really into it. I bought like all kind. I bought so many haunted house books. After I read that, I remember one of them stood out, was called Witch House. Came out shortly after that, and that's the only one I can remember. But I had probably 4 or 5 other paperbacks that I would read.
See, when you were doing that, I was buying UFO books.
There you go. So haunted house movies are really my jam. Unlike you, Bill, that's really where I like to go. So I love the Conjuring movies. I love like you know, the Haunting and Legend of Hell House and stuff like that. Those are ones I really love. But there's so many crappy ones out there too.
Yeah, they are.
But anyway, that's our first impressions of it. And what we're going to do now is Chad is
unnecessary.
It is absolutely necessary. Chad is going to do taglines with Chad.
Okay. Taglines for Amityville Horror. For God's sake, get out!
That's a good one.
That's
That sticks with you.
The terrifying truth behind a real-life haunted house.
That's good.
sure, whatever.
Oh, come on.
19 days after the Lutz family moved into their dream house, they were running for their lives. What happened to them is an experience in terror you will never forget, and you will believe in the Amityville Horror.
Guilty. Not Bill, but guilty.
That's a tagline?
That's a
Yeah,
tagline.
that's a
Holy
paragraph.
cow. Speaking of paragraphs, it's the kind of house they don't build anymore. A relic of a time when the world wasn't in such a hurry. Soon after the Lutz family moved in, the horror began. George and Kathy's bedroom, the eyes at the window, the sewing room, so many flies, the living room, an unnatural cold, and the basement, the hidden red room.
Oh, we haven't talked about the hidden red room. Oh,
That's another one. It's like Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Yeah.
They don't build houses with windows like that anymore.
That's true.
From the bestseller that made millions believe in the unbelievable.
Yep.
True enough.
The best-selling novel about a haunted house has become real.
Yeah. And come on. These taglines sold the movie. I mean,
Yeah.
especially the first one. These are really good. AIP did their job. They did their job.
Yeah.
All right. Well, not that anybody really cares, but
These
that
are
has
better-
been.
They're better than most of the taglines we get for better movies.
I mean, even the paragraph, sells it, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that has been taglines with Chad.
Chad's our hero, cool and rad. With him reading taglines, they can't be that bad.
All right. What we're going to do now is a segment we call Cast of Characters. We're going to go through the major characters in the film and kind of discuss how those characters fit into the story and behaved, and maybe a tad a little about the actors and how they portrayed the characters. We're going to start off with the lead, James Brolin as George Lutz. If
Only his hairdresser knows for sure.
Oh
Yeah.
man, that's a head of hair. His whole head looks like Tom Gore's beard. I mean, it's
well, that head of hair
forest.
is
Yeah.
he had to have that to attract Barbara Streisand. So.
Yeah.
It worked.
Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah. But this character,
Yeah, he's a good guy, family man, seems decent sort and everything. Chops a mean log and all, and then we see him start to basically do The Shining. It's taken over. And that is, I thought they did a pretty good job with that too. And I was legit. I think when I first saw this movie, I was legit shocked when we had the murder sequence where he kills the kids and puts an axe into Margot Kidder. I'm like, wait a minute. But then, of course, it was all a dream.
Yeah.
but it was effective as hell.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and plus he hacked the door before Jack Torrance did.
Oh,
Yeah.
But
Well, he was good. He played an everyman. He's just an ordinary guy, you know, and he pulled that off. And he would be like anybody, I would think, going through that situation. Well, most normal people would leave once they tell you to get out. You would leave, but I think that is the reason. Like Bill said, I think they sort of got in over their heads, and now they were kind of stuck there, had nowhere to go. But they did a great job. It's a very subtle transformation, but as the movie went on, his hair became more frazzled and sticking out like a crazy person, the red rimmed eyes, and he just looked pale and tired all the time. I just thought it was a good performance from him as far as that goes. A little of the snapping that he did at the kids, you know, even that kind of thing didn't fit who he was, I don't think, as a character. So it was, I think he pulled that off really well.
Yeah.
Because because they made points at the beginning of how much he wanted to be a part of the kids' lives, and and wanted them to accept him as the new man of the house or whatever, and stuff like that. And then his complete turnaround, where he was just snapping at him and yelling at him, and that kind of thing was really well done, I thought.
Yeah, I thought that you really feel what his character is going through, right? Because this house is basically attacking his psyche. It's draining him. It's it's on his nerves, right? Because he's like you said, he's snapping at the kids, and he's and you feel for him. You feel for him, but he still comes through at the end when it counts, even though he gets pretty close to slamming that axe.
He's got one great hero moment, which is he goes back for the dog, and that forgives him.
Yeah, I mean, you go back for the dog, everything's done, right? You're
right.
good.
Even if it makes no sense, like Ripley, you're like the smartest person in this movie, and then you're going back for the cat, but then you're like, but you know what? It's your cat, so sure.
Yeah. I'd have to be the one to leave the cat. I'm sorry, or the dog.
Well, the difference is the dog would do the same for you, and the cat most certainly would not. So I understand.
The cat would stand there and watch you.
Healthy, probably take the alien right to you.
I'm drowning. Pull me out. Pull me out.
So I want to ask you guys a question while we have him up. Some other people were in line for this role, and the first one, the one they wanted the most, was Jerry Lewis.
Harrison Ford. Well,
which makes sense right after Star Wars.
So this would have been right after Star Wars. Yeah, I could see that working.
Yep.
Yeah, that would have worked.
Burt Reynolds, James Caan, and Christopher Reeve.
James Caan more than Burt Reynolds, but yeah. Who else?
Christopher
Reeve would have been good, I think.
Which would have reunited him and Kidder.
That probably would have been too much of a distraction, but yeah, he would.
But yeah, it might have, but it probably would have made it more iconic because of that. Be like a reunion. But he did a great job. He absolutely. I mean, the film rests on his shoulders more than anybody else, and it totally works. His wife, Kathy Lutz, played by Margot Kidder, is probably, she's stronger-willed than he is. She's the glue that holds everything together, even when it's falling apart, right? And she has different fears. She's not as worried about the finances and stuff that's driving, George crazy, but there's like some age issues and appearance, self-confidence issues that are really interesting that come up, especially when, she thinks she's aging, and then that one time when the accident almost hits her in the head, she's, supposed to be like a 90-year-old woman. She's not quite that old, but so it's really, her character is pretty strong in this, I thought.
I like her in this even more than I like her in Superman.
Really? That's cool.
I just thought this character had more. Lois Lane. Lois Lane carries a lot of baggage, but Lois Lane is a smart aleck news reporter and blah, blah, blah. She felt like a real person here who was trying to hold her family together and didn't know how sometimes. And you felt that a lot. You felt that. She gave such a great performance in it. I liked her better as this character than I did as Lois Lane. And I love her as Lois Lane. So
yeah, I'm with you on that. Like you say, Lois Lane has so much baggage. She's a horrible person. And she was as good as Lois Lane as you could possibly be. When you get right down to it, she's still a character that would throw herself over Niagara Falls to try to prove that Clark Kent is Superman, which is just going to get all of his friends and family killed. So, and also she's an investigative reporter who can't tell what happens when a guy takes his glasses off. In fairness, neither can I, but I'm not an investigative reporter. So,
well, she does eventually figure out and then marries him.
Yeah, whatever. But yeah,
well, at least in the comic,
long enough. But this character, she's good. She's the one that we identify with, and we, are scared for.
She's the one that does the research, so she gets. She's
sit around, and yeah, I liked her character. Very necessary part of this movie.
Yeah, yeah, and a good opposite to George, right?
Yeah.
Because they have different experiences, but equally frightening to that character. So
Yeah.
it really works because they're being torn apart.
Yeah.
Right.
You just believed these people. You believe their characters.
They seem like people you might know.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that brought a lot to the movie, as far as I'm concerned. It made me care about what was happening to them. So
Yeah, because they weren't portrayed over the top or unreasonably frightened, right?
Yeah.
When they were scared, it was legit. You felt it. And it wasn't like, craziness, screaming, running, hands up in the air, running around. They were.
Yeah, they huddled together, not knowing what was going to come next or what was happening, So
they made a great couple.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Brolin and Kidder, had chemistry on screen, I thought. Especially at the beginning when they're, everything's normal.
Yeah.
And everyone in the house, and you could tell that they really loved the house. And even though it was above their, the money they had, they wanted to take the chance and stuff. And it was opportunity. And totally, everything was feasible. Because if they, if the characters were written wrong or if the actors didn't approach it right, without that bond and that thing, that the story would fall apart so easily. And of course, we have Rod Steiger coming in as Father Francis Delaney.
Hey, where did our set go? Oh, Rod Steiger chewed it all up. Man, this guy, he was swinging for the rafters.
But it's great though, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Because
Father Fly Face,
Father Fly.
I mean, you gotta have. Okay, so this is a priest, right? And there's but if the priest becomes scared, you become scared, especially back in the 70s when there was people were just a hair bit more religious than they are now.
Yeah.
Right.
Tell you what, Max von Sydow wouldn't have got out.
That's right.
No, he wouldn't. He would have been. Yeah.
He would have just given a look, and those flies would have gone like scurrying away.
Yep.
Meanwhile, they're crawling all over this guy, and that is pretty effective.
Yeah, and he's tragic. Like the entire movie, this house, this entity continues to wear him down, and to the point where he becomes blind. The scene in the church.
That is, and no one believes him. He's the guy who sees it, and unfortunately, his boss is the priest from Jaws, and that's what happens.
We can't have ghosts flying around here on the 4th of July.
That's right. But I mean, is he over the top a little bit? Yeah, but I don't think it's enough to. No. I think it's actually in the movie's favor. I actually think it's in the movie's favor. That this is the character that needs to be kind of that.
When he pulled over and puked, though, I laughed every time.
He's not the only one.
I laugh every time I see that.
Yeah.
Just such a funny sound effect that they use in throwing up. It just made me laugh.
But it's so tragic at the end when he's just sitting there alone on the bench. And, but the interesting thing is that he never really interacts in person with the Lutzes.
Right.
But they have a history, and I think when the characters are speaking about the other characters, you feel that they have had a history, right? You don't feel like it's just made up, even though they don't actually be face to face in this movie. I never doubted that. That
didn't she grow up around him or something?
Yeah.
That's it. And
and you felt it because he was still concerned, even though he was literally being told not to mess with him, right? And you still felt his concern, although he was not actively acting on it. But whenever it came time to be there, he tried, and he paid for it every time, every single time. It's an interesting character, and I don't think because I don't think in the remake, and other things, the character has worked as well.
Yeah.
This year. And maybe it's just because it really is. The scenes with him at the beginning are kind of like the iconic scenes for this movie, right? The get out part.
Yeah.
It's probably of all the others. That's what.
Well, these guys are usually the heroes of these films.
Right. He couldn't, which
the clergy and everything, but which I thought was a neat idea that there was something there that he couldn't even deal with.
Right.
You know,
gave it more weight, right?
Yeah.
Give it even more weight. But he's not the only one. We also have Father Brolin, played by Don Stroud, who is his young apprentice, very skeptical, but is challenged because he witnesses some of the stuff, right? So, but he doesn't really get involved with them. He's more a conduit between him and the police officer, and or supporting Rod Steiger in those scenes that he has. But it works. He works.
Yeah, I mean, it served its purpose there.
Yeah.
But I think if I was in the car like he was and I couldn't control the car and the steering wheel was being jerked out of my hand, it would change my life a little bit. You know what I mean?
And I think it did. I think it did. He wasn't quite. He didn't quite give in to it fully, but I think that challenged his skepticism quite strongly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's one thing. Whenever I see skeptics in these movies and everything, it's like, I'm a skeptic. I haven't seen any proof or evidence of these things, but it would not take a whole lot to convert me to the other side. I'm not going to be looking for explanations. When I was like, oh, maybe my transmission had a shimmy or something. It's like, no, listen. If I'm sitting here and I reach for my coffee cup and it suddenly goes flying through the air, it's like, well, I guess ghosts are real. That's it.
And then, of course, both of them have to answer to Father Ryan,
hero,
who really just has like one scene?
The mayor of Amity.
Yeah,
mayor of Amity. He's great. He's super skeptical. And you know what? Look, 99 times out of 100, he'd be right.
Or 999 out of 1,000 even.
Yeah, listen, Father Rod, or maybe you've just been hitting the sauce, maybe the sacramental wine a little too heavy here. Come on,
You're in the whole movie with the sacrificial
wine. Whatever. But he's got that smirk. Boy, what a face he has. He's just perfect for these roles.
Yeah. I've seen some memes where they have him in the outfit and with the microphone in his face from Jaws, but instead in the background it's the Amityville house.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, he will live on forever. We're wearing that horrible jacket at the beach. Whenever there's something going, whenever some politician is telling you what is absolute horse crap, that's when the meme he pops up repeating those words, and it's like, we know.
Yep. You're perfect at it. All right. So out of the children, only one of them actually has, important. They actually you almost forget about the boys.
Yeah.
But of course, Amy Lutz, played by Natasha Ryan, she is the one that communicates with her imaginary friend, who is Jody, who we get a glimpse of. We'll talk about that in a minute, but. She has some of the most unnerving lines. Maybe not the scariest, but like when she says that Jody doesn't like George. Yeah. I mean, that was like, oh crap, and that's been used so much since.
Oh, sure,
yeah.
But this was first. I think this was the first. If it wasn't the first, it hadn't been terribly much others. So.
If I've learned anything about parenting from horror movies, it's this. If your kid ever mentions having an imaginary friend, you just tell them they're going to knock that crap off or they are never eating ice cream again. Just nip that right in the bud.
And never, in the movies, it never worked out in the favor. Yeah. But she did. I'm impressed. This girl held her.
Yes, she did. She did.
She really did.
She's basically a tiny expositionary character.
Yeah. I felt terrible for that babysitter, not just because she had to wear those horrifying dental things that we had back in the 70s. Boy, they've disappeared. Thank God. You had to walk around and you looked like you'd broken your neck in a horrible tractor accident, all this stuff just pushing your teeth back into your head. And then she gets locked in a closet.
Yeah. And of
with
course,
her bloody
when they-
hands. And
Yeah.
at least she could pick up AM/FM while she was stuck in there.
Oh man, but yeah. So of course the door just opens easily when they get there.
Right. Oh, correct. Yeah. As always, the demon is totally gaslighting you at every step of the way.
That was another cool thing, though. You just see doors opening and closing and chairs rocking back and forth
Mhm.
with no build up toward that. It just happens. So sometimes in the background where you can barely
Right.
see it, which I thought was a kind of a different. Usually there's a dun dun dun. And the door will slam or something like this. That was kind of going on and as like it was a normal thing,
Yeah. Well, they had already established it because the door did slam when
Mhm.
Rod Steiger was there. So yeah,
Mhm.
now it's just every little thing, and it did work. The chandeliers would shimmer and
Mhm.
shake a little bit, and of course the one window did slam down on one of the boys' hand. So
Yeah.
That was a good shot, actually.
yeah. And then they were like, not a single bone was broken. You would think it was based on how hard it hit him.
The way he was screaming, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Carl, I would scream. It just have to fall down and like, ah! but just character. So, well, that's all the characters, but we still have some other things to discuss. Well, we got to talk about that.
There's the big character right there.
Yeah. I mean, this house.
Yeah.
Everybody knows this house.
Yep. Those
Right?
windows. And I'll tell you, this movie has ruined those windows. It's like Hitler's mustache. No one's ever allowed to use it again.
Right.
One guy ruined a perfectly decent mustache, and this house has, unless you're deliberately trying to keep Jehovah's Witnesses away or something, you don't build a house with those eyes, those windows staring out at you. It just, no one's going to have any sympathy for you when you run screaming into the rain.
I know they did it for dramatic effect, but the lighting I found kind of cheesy and on the nose. You know what I mean? It's like because the light would change sometimes to where the lights on the inside would go up like the house is angry now, or and that kind of thing. I found that kind of cheesy, but
man, I love every second of it. I don't care about how much cheese is in there. I love. But look, I mean,
it's a great design. Look, it's got eyes, it has a nose, and the windows look like teeth. I mean, it's like a face.
It is
not a happy face.
Scary, and they light it perfectly throughout the film. But it was absolutely necessary to make this movie work. Absolutely, the house had to be scary. At least when they needed it to be. It could be not scary during the day or something, but when when the lights come on, it has to be scary, and it was.
Yeah.
I mean, and even if you don't think it's scary now, when you think of a haunted house, this is one that likely will pop up in your head.
Yep.
Even now, right?
Either looks like this or it looks like the Disney Haunted Mansion. It's either going to be really, really old, or if it's going to be new, it needs to have this kind of personality.
There's a couple others, but if you think of a haunted house, this is it. I think, in my opinion. But I'd like to let us know if you think of another house other than Haunted Mansion or the Amityville Horror. So here's Jody. So I got a snap of the one time we see the full pig in the window, which is startling.
Does the book explain what the pig represents, or what the pig? Why a pig?
That's a good question. Why a pig? But there was much more about this, and you saw the pig, or you saw the eyeballs, at least the eyes more often, because we only see the eyes that one time when the window comes down, or when she looks out the window and there's the eyes.
Yeah.
I don't know if this was in the book or not, but to me, a demon pig makes me think of the story in the Bible where Jesus exorcises the possessed person.
We are Legion.
Right. And then all the demons go into a souter of pigs, whatever it is. And they all run into the water and drown themselves. So I don't know if that's it or not, but pigs are pretty scary. I mean, they'll eat you if you give them half a chance.
Yeah, they eat everything.
We grew up around them, and you were never allowed to go by yourself to feed them.
Mm.
There always had to
Really?
be somebody else with you to feed them, because if you tripped, fell, hit your head, and you fell into the mud or what, you were done for.
Yeah.
And so happy breakfast, everybody.
And it makes the bacon taste funny when they
The
eat
bacon's
human.
Stop. But they. So this is the thing that disappointed me the most, because they didn't use the image of Jody enough. I was a very peculiar 14-year-old kid, but
No.
but this is a real effective, because this is in the finale, and George is coming up the house with an axe, and he's looking kind of scary, like he's going to go full Jack Torrance on him, even though we didn't really know Jack Torrance yet, at least outside of the book probably, but the movie would solidify that a year later. But and he sees that thing, and it's just I remember watching it. This scene was really well done, and when I watched it in the theater, because everybody gasped at this point. Everybody gasped. Now it seems kind of silly, because
at first glance you can't even tell what it is. The first time I saw it, you couldn't even tell what that was at first, and it went by so fast. You're like, "What was that? What was that?"
So. Yeah. But it does. There's two shots of it, because you get to see it kind of come into view. But you don't see the two eyes, but you see that there's something there, and you see George like, and then it shoots back, and you get this shot. But they're real quick. They're real quick, just enough to just startle the hell out of you, and it really did in the theaters when that happened. Of course, a lot of people have read the book, so they knew the significance of it. So, I can see why. I didn't realize that it had made so much money, but you can, you think about it. There's certainly a reason why. All right, so we're going to move out of cast of characters and into promotion and the cast and the crew. We're going to start off with the poster.
That's the poster,
which is okay. It's really good.
Great poster.
It really is. I mean, it does have the 70s. Let's put the heads, in there, but it's legit here. I mean, but the house. It's the house that sells this, right? And of course that the tagline, so huge and right in the middle of it, is so brilliant.
Well, even somebody that's not into horror knows this house.
And it's scary.
yeah. And it does. It's a scary looking thing.
It's unusual to see a poster where the tagline is bigger than the title.
Yeah.
But they didn't really need to emphasize the title much, because everyone knew about the Amityville Horror. This is again something that people who weren't around at the time would find hard to believe. But there was a time when a best-selling book, everyone either read it or knew someone who read it and knew what it was about. There wasn't a soul. They didn't have to market this too tough to get people to know what was going on. Amityville Horror was a huge, just like The Exorcist was as well. Everyone knew it.
Yeah. I mean, even with Alien, they did that. And Alien wasn't a book first.
Yeah.
But, it wasn't large like this, but everybody knew the tagline, So a really good tagline like this will sell a movie.
Sure.
Or especially back in then. I don't know if it could now. It'd be interesting to look at some.
Yeah. You think about the first time you ever saw this, and like the red logo for Amityville Horror. I don't remember ever even seeing that part. All I remember is that tagline and those two glowing windows that looked like eyes, and I knew what it was. What it was.
Yeah.
And I did not see that logo until much later. But it's not what caught my eye. It was the two windows and the quote there on that. It was a genius poster. Genius.
It's the best haunted house quote ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I first saw this thing, I was just so thrilled. I was like, this is going to be great. One of the first times I got disappointed by the hype in my life.
I don't remember ever seeing that top poster.
I don't either. I wonder where it's from.
Yeah.
The Japanese, is it Japanese?
Does that say media down there and under the fine print? That could be a VHS.
It could be. It could be.
Cover.
And then the Asian one is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one here, which Doc pointed out, looks really like it's taken from the car.
Mm-hmm.
That was when they premiered it on TV. That was probably right there, taken out of TV Guide.
Yeah. That was great. Oh my God. We've talked about this before. You know, back then, the TV Guide or the newspaper on Sunday, what they usually had a guide for was it. You would grab that thing every week, and you would just scour it for stuff. And seeing these things in there, man, it just thrilled me.
And again, a different time. Look at how they're advertising this. A CBS special motion picture event. It was an event when a big movie was premiering on TV, even though it would be edited and you'd have to every 20 minutes there's an ad for, Bully Bowl cleaner or something. It kind of takes the magic away, but still it was a big deal. And half the country would have been watching it that night.
Oh yeah. And the whole family.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The whole family was sitting there.
Get the Jiffy Pop popcorn, sit in the,
Man,
that was the only chance you would get to see it until it came on TV again, which could be years.
Right.
That's right. That's right. It wasn't, you had to make plans.
Yep. If you did, but they did stay in the theaters a lot longer.
Yeah, they did.
But once they got out of the theaters, unless it got showed up at they re-released it, or if it went to a drive-in later in, you lost your chance. And if you didn't get to see it, you had to wait. But then HBO came out, and that all changed.
It all changed.
But oh my God, I loved it when it did. it was in my favor. I loved when HBO came out. And of course,
wasn't too much longer after this.
It wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't after this. But we grew throughout the 70s. Every movie that came out was a big event.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't even have to be a new one. Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Yep.
Every year.
Every year, Wizard of Oz.
Once a year.
Watched it.
10 Commandments on Easter.
Yeah. And those were real events because that's when the whole family got, you made a big giant bowl of popcorn and everybody sat around and watched it because, hey, this is a once a year thing. We gotta do it. It became traditions in family homes.
So here's based on true story. Is that DeFeo or is that that's DeFeo in the picture?
I had to look up the actual story behind this and everything. And man, this guy, what a piece of work. He died recently and hopefully enjoying an eternity in hell. But they never got a straight story out of this guy. He kept changing his motivations and blaming a sister, and it was all just seemed like a real. Well, I mean, he killed what? 6 members of his family, including children. So, what can I say? He was a real jerk. But yeah, just awful. I don't know that I would want to live in a house where all that happened.
Yeah.
But if I did, I would not be like the current owners who basically have changed it so it doesn't look like the way it did. And say quite honestly that the only scary thing about the house are the weirdos who show up and think that they can just walk in there like they're a priest or something. I would turn into a bed and breakfast. 100,000%. I would charge triple the rates of a decent bed and breakfast, and people would pay. I'd have a waiting list for years. I would have retired long ago on the money I made from living in this haunted house.
Yep. And some people will buy these houses because they're haunted, just because they want a haunted house.
Yeah, sure. But what house could you buy that's more famously haunted than this one? I can't think of anything.
Not many. Except for maybe what's that one in California? It has all the rooms that go in the Winchester House.
Oh yeah, the Winchester House is a pretty good one too.
Yeah. But yeah, this is and they've had movies and specials, and I think there's even a book about just DeFeo himself. and what happened here, what really,
Yeah.
trying to determine what actually happened, because he always said the voices told him to do it. Was always what he
Because
said.
if I recall the story correctly, he actually went to the police or some place covered in blood and was like, someone murdered my family. And they go back to the house and they find them all dead. And he's distraught, like, who could have done it? But the story stunk on ice, and they pretty quickly cracked that this guy,
Mhm.
there was something really
Mhm.
swirly about him. So
Yeah.
he got life in prison and died a few years ago. Not too long ago, though.
And then, of course, when I mean, even before the book, they were, the Lutz family were on TV and doing stuff,
Mhm.
and the Warrens were talking about it. And then Jay Anson came along and took their story and novelized it, and then it just was huge, huge. All right, getting to let's talk about the director real quick. Let's pick a picture and let's go back to the house itself. Let's see, where did I put the house?
I didn't have a slide for him. He's a good director. He did Cool Hand Luke, which is a great movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrific movie. He didn't do a whole he didn't do any other genre stuff though. It seems like an odd pick.
It does, doesn't it? It does. Yeah, because he did a lot of TV. He did some Alfred Hitchcock Presents. I think he was known for doing. He did some Twilight Zone. He did 3 episodes of Twilight Zone. But I think Defenders is what he was known for. He directed most of the Defenders from the 62 and 64.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Cool Hand Luke in 67. Drowning Pool. The Voyage of the Damned, which I think is that that's one of the
that's
mysteries.
a Holocaust. I thought that was I might be wrong.
Yeah, it's the Voyage of the St. Louis in 1939, carrying hundreds of German Jewish refugees. Yeah.
That basically got turned away.
It's a far cry from this.
Yeah, just not the first guy I'd think for this.
Well, I thought he did a good job on it.
Brubaker was a good movie. The Pope of Greenwich Village.
Yeah,
which are I think that introduced Eric Roberts and Mickey Rourke and Daryl Hannah. That was the film that brought them all to.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And then he didn't direct much after that. I wonder if he passed away at that point. The last thing he directed was 91. No, he lived to 2007. So I guess he
saved his money.
Yeah. But he did a great job. And then Sandor Stern wrote some fun stuff. Not terribly much genre. But of course, every Amityville Horror after this he got credit for.
Sure.
But Serpico.
Oh, that's
not the movie, it's a TV show. So let me get that. Wow. So he did a lot of TV. He Mod Squad, Rookies, Doc Elliott, Serpico TV show, which I forgot there actually was one.
Mm-hmm.
Mod
Squad was good. I used to love watching Mod Squad.
So he did a lot of TV, Then there's a couple movies in here that seem recognizable, but no genre stuff. But let's go ahead and get to the actors. I know that's what everybody really wants to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
This dude, James Brolin, father of Josh Brolin, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's right. Current husband of Barbara Streisand.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure they'll stick together for the rest.
It's weird that his son looks older than he does here now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's a great actor too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, whenever people go bitching about Nepo babies and everything, it's like, first of all, what do you expect? Do you really think that you're not going to give your kid a hand? If they're a good actor, if they're a bad actor, they're not going to make it. And if they're good, why not give them the one thing that is the difference between succeeding and failing in Hollywood, which is a chance.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all it is. a lot of times
That's just
they're
being a
perfectly
man,
fine.
just being a good
Yeah,
parent.
Yep.
exactly. If your dad's like the best plumber in Sanford, he's probably making some serious coin. And I'd be aghast if I found out, it was like, yeah, my son wants to be a plumber too, but I want him to struggle. Oh, okay, wow, you suck. So
Yep.
anyway, yeah. So thank goodness that got in the family. Maybe Hollywood is such a brutal place. If your parents can, maybe say, hey, no, don't go interview with Harvey Weinstein or whatever, little bits of wisdom that might make your life better.
Mhm.
I was so happy he was casting this because I love Westworld.
Yeah.
You know how much I love the car.
Mhm.
So this is like perfect casting for me, and it really was. He because we have the shot here, and
it looks like it's
Yeah, they look alike.
close enough, right?
Mhm.
I thought that was a little hokey when it's like, oh my God, that he looks just like my husband. It's like, is that the only reason the demon picked on him? Because there was a superficial resemblance, but whatever.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, everybody kept making a big deal out of it. You look just like that guy,
Yeah,
And he
that
did.
guy, the one who
He did.
killed the kids. Like, oh,
Yeah.
what's
And
wrong
of
with you?
course-
Just making conversation.
Here's some
I
of the
forgot
movies.
to put
Capricorn
Capricorn
1, Westworld, of course,
Capricorn
right?
1.
And he's in Voyage of the Damned.
I wish I could remember who he was. Fantastic Voyage.
Yeah, no kidding.
Did we double check to make sure I got that right?
We're going to do that now. We're going to do that
Yeah.
now. I'm sure he did. Sure he was.
He probably was like one of the technicians just holding a plastic tray or something.
Which is fine.
He was the best boy on that.
Best boy. Let's see. What it was at 60 something, right? He was in Von Ryan. He was in Von Ryan's Express, 12 o'clock. Patty Duke, Our Man Flint. He was in the test reel of Planet of the Apes, and fantastic. He was a technician. You called it. He was a technician.
There you go.
1966.
I love the premise of Capricorn 1. So if people haven't seen this, it's basically they have a big they're going to Mars or something, and it's a big deal, and it fails. Something goes wrong, so they have to fake everything. They got to fake the whole thing. Yeah, but then the spaceship blows up on re-entry, so now they got to kill the astronauts who have been faking this whole thing, and it's like, so it turns.
We'll cover it one day.
Yeah.
I did not know. Yeah, we will. I did not
Look at all
know
those floating heads on the bottom underneath the title, though. That's another one of those movies.
Well, almost every other movie in 70s,
Yeah.
Unless it was drawn by Neil Adams for the Westworld. I did not know that James Brolin was in 4 episodes of Batman.
What?
The TV show.
What did he play?
He played Reggie Hogan in something, Kid Gulliver in another one, and Driver named Ralph Staphylococcus. He was in The Cat and the Fiddle, Sandman Cometh, The Catwoman Cometh, or Goeth. The Sandman Cometh and The Catwoman Goeth in the 2nd season. And the 3rd season, he was in Ringing Round the Riddler. He was Kid Gulliver. I did not know that. I did not know that until just now.
I'm going to go through and watch that all 3 seasons again.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Might be something we have to do on our Patreon.
Yeah.
That'd be fun to cover, even though it's
Westworld's a great movie.
I love Westworld. And when they redid it as a TV show, it was such a great reinterpretation of it too. They kind of dropped the ball, I think, toward the later seasons, but the first 2 seasons, it's like absolutely
the problem
perfect.
with a lot of these shows.
Absolutely perfect. Of course, going over to Margot Kidder. I agree. I think this is really a good role for her. And she's both slightly ordinary, right, but also really attractive in this as well.
Yeah. She looks like an every person.
Yeah,
but she's one like girl next door type vibe.
Girl next door, very beautiful. And there was just a likability to her. I met her at a convention toward the last few years of her life, and it's very sad. Her story is a very sad one.
Yeah.
And it's really too bad. but she was very nice at the convention. I mean, a little quirky, but that was also a convention that had, oh my God, why can I never remember this guy? Gary Busey. So,
now that's
however,
for you.
Yeah, however quirky she was the actual picture of sanity compared to Gary Busey. If Gary's listening to this, please don't come and beat me up.
Buttered sausage.
Yeah. Well, he was in that, wasn't he in like a motorcycle accident?
He was in a motorcycle accident. Yeah.
Did a little thing to him.
Mm.
But this, of course, are movies. Goodness gracious.
So many. And
oh my God,
I mean,
so
both Sisters and Black Christmas are really underrated. But it was, of course, Superman playing the not easy role of Lois Lane, who can very, very easily become an annoying person. She was likable, and you could see why he would love her. I mean, Superman is one of those ones you watch it now, and I underestimate it. I watch it and I realize there is no reason why this movie should be as good as it is.
Right.
And just how well cast it was, especially when you look at some of the ideas they had for casting Superman, were like, wow, that would have been terrible. It all just worked. You had Marlon Brando, crazy as he was, it all came together, and the two of them just had a terrific chemistry.
Oh, the best, one of the best.
I think, and Superman 2, maybe I like even better. But there's a scene there. I mean, it's more of a Christopher Reeve scene, but where he decides he's going to tell her that he's Superman. He takes off his glasses, and you think, is this CGI? Because he straightens up. He looks like he grows 6 inches, and he looks like a completely transformed person. It's all just body acting.
Yeah.
And then she comes in, he chickens out and puts it back on. Immediately he's Clark Kent again. And you're like, oh my God, I could actually believe that nobody has figured out that these two people are the same.
Oh, you wouldn't think it, right? You would never even picture him being that until.
And I think that's in the Superman. We've had some good Superman movies since. I like the last one. And usually when they have a Superman movie, they're either really good at Clark Kent or really good at Superman. But I think he was the only one that was really, really good at both.
Yeah, he absolutely was the best. Still is. I mean, I like you said, I've actually enjoyed many of the Superman that have, TV and movies. And the last one, I don't know, I can't remember the name of the guy that was in James. The one that just came out, but
right.
But he won me over really quickly in that movie. He's a different type of Superman. Yeah, that's interesting. Like every one of them it's just slightly different.
Yeah.
But this is not about.
Well, I think her role in Superman as Lois was very good, and I like her as Lois Lane. I mean, you think of Lois Lane, you think of Margot Kidder first. I don't care what, but even though they tried to make this Superman movie a real, like, Superman's the only superhero in town. This is
right.
Everything else is just grounded in reality. It's still a comic book movie. It's still a Superman movie, and you expect Lois Lane to be a certain way. And so even though I like her in that, and I love her performance in this much better because of just the fact that she feels like she's my aunt or sister or something like that. She seems like a grounded person and reacts like a real person would act in those situations. And she's just, to me, it's just one of her best performances.
It is. And paired with this, at the top of her career. Yeah. But she did 4 films of Superman, right?
Yeah. The first 2 were the ones that had the most of her in it. And
the third one she was in for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
At the beginning, but his love interest was Lana Lang, I think.
Yeah, they switched it over, didn't they?
And then I think she only came back for the 4th one because he directed it, and that was a mess.
But David Cornsweet is Cornsweet is the actor. I can never remember that name. It's going to take a while, but I think he's He's a really good Superman, and I think Rachel Brosnahan is actually really good.
Yeah, she made a good.
Yeah, she was good. It was a little too modern for me. I think one of the things that really worked for Superman the movie, and where Margot Kidder was so good, one of the problems with Superman is you have to make the audience believe that this godlike creature gives a rat's ass about humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Lois Lane's purpose. You know, he sees her for all her weaknesses and all her little weirdness and everything. She's human. She's very human, and he loves her. And that makes us feel good because God loves us then. So that was an important role to make him a believable character and a likable character. Because when you think about it, I mean, Superman the movie, his main villain is a guy whose power is being bald and has lots of money and you know, whatever. He's not even a super genius, really. It's not a fair fight at all when it's Superman versus Luthor, but it's all right. It was good. It's a great movie. And I wish she'd had a happier life. She just seemed like someone who just, you know, didn't get a fair shake.
Yeah, but he made the most of it, though. I mean, he really did. Even though after the accident,
I mean, both of them, both. Yeah, you're right. Margot Kidder and Christopher Reeve. I mean, yeah, that's, yeah, you know, these people who bring us so much joy, so much entertainment and everything. You like to think that they're nice people in real life, and they often are, and that they're going to have a happy ending, and they often don't.
Right.
So, but yeah, he did face it with courage. But poof.
I am looking forward to Supergirl though this year. I'll just put that out there.
Okay.
Rod Steiger. Like we've already talked about how he's slightly over the top, but
yeah,
I don't think it's terribly much though. I mean,
no, it's not that over the top where he's like a cartoon character or anything.
Not like Mars Attacks.
Right.
Well, he was great in Mars Attacks.
That's
I mean,
true.
there it worked. You know, he was supposed to be over the top,
Right.
and it really worked well. I mean, he was an actor. This, if I recall correctly, this movie came out. He had a stroke, or some kind of health issue, and was having a hard time getting cast in anything. So he was very grateful for this role. And I think it kind of, you know, colored what he'd be doing going forward. He seemed to be playing a lot of priests and you know, just larger than life characters. The reviews were often very unkind to him. You know, going through his Wikipedia page, you know, and boy, I think Vincent Canby from the New York Times had a real deep hate for him or something. They just couldn't wait to talk about his over-the-top hammy acting and everything. It wasn't that bad. I think it called for it in this. It worked. And yeah, that top picture, when you see him broken, that is pretty effective because, like you guys are saying, we're not used to this. Is usually the hero. He comes in, throws some holy water, and saves the day. And in this one, a man of God, faces a demon and loses. It's not even close, really.
Not even. No, he from the very get-go. From the very moment the flies land on him, he's starting to hack and cough and doesn't ever stop. He played W.C. Fields. W.C. Fields in the 70s.
Yeah, that was one of the ones they weren't too fond of. I kind of liked it. I thought he was okay as W.C. Fields, actually. But it's one of those movies when you're W.C. Fields and me, when you're watching it, it feels like a movie that was made 10 or 15 years earlier than it was. That kind of movie just wasn't being made anymore. But they tried. In the 70s, they would come out with these movies. Actors that nowadays people don't even, you know, Gable and Lombard, you know, it's like, well, it breaks my heart, but I doubt that I've ever had a student in my 30 years who knew who those people were. I know it kills me. But, you know, we grew up in a different time. We watched TV and they played those movies all the time. And watching a black and white movie did not offend me in any way.
And they celebrated those actors then. They celebrated them. They were like
And
royalty almost, right?
do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember when Frank Gorshin would come out? He'd kill with, "I'm going to do a Humphrey Bogart impersonation." And it's like, yeah, you could come out now and do the world's greatest Humphrey Bogart impersonation, and 90% of your audience will have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
They don't get any of the jokes in Bugs Bunny cartoons anymore. It's small wonder the world is going to hell in a handbasket. That's all I got to say about that.
Sound like my dad.
Yeah.
American Gothic in '87.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And Kindred the same year, which
Yep.
we'll go back to American Gothic with a little bit more, a little better. But yeah, I don't know much about him other than like some of the movies.
His greatest role, I think, was a movie that I saw in high school. Boy, when I say that now, it's like, wow, we got away with murder back then. The Pawnbroker, which is so good, so good. Another Holocaust movie and brutal. And I can't believe they let us see that in high school. It's like, wow, nobody was paying attention back then. Yeah.
But he was in Dr. Zhivago. He played Komarovsky, which I couldn't tell you who that is in the movie. Yeah, The Pawnbroker is 1964.
Not a feel-good movie if you're looking for a pick-me-up, but a great movie.
Then we have Don Stroud. I love that shot of him in the car. Look at him, look at all his face.
Rod Steiger, take the wheel.
Me?
His life is flashing before his eyes, but he's not seeing the past. He's seeing a future where he stars in the Rollerblade 7.
He's all
and
upset.
Carnosaur 2. And you're like, no, how did that happen?
And Frog
That's
Man too.
Frank Stallone.
Yeah, listen. You're not going to see top-notch people in a Rollerblade 7 movie.
And one of the Estevez brothers.
Yeah.
Martin Sheen's brother, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
So it stars the brothers of famous people.
Yeah.
And Don Stroud.
Yeah, he was in an episode of The Incredible Hulk. Good for him. And every TV show you can imagine in the 70s. Mm-hmm. He was in the Buddy Holly story. I remember I saw that movie.
Oh, so maybe Gary Busey punched him in the mouth.
Maybe. He played
Buttered sausage.
Pow! Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. Yeah, it was like well, of course everybody was, right? If you were a TV actor, you got to be on every single TV show.
Sure. Hey, listen, every week the Hulk had to go into a town. There were a bunch of people with a problem, and he solved the problem, and then he got out ahead just 2 steps ahead of the
McGee
reporter. So, every episode has got to have an entire town's worth of actors. You're gonna be flipping that Rolodex of Hollywood.
Yeah.
Everyone had a chance to get rescued or beaten by the Hulk, depending on which role you played.
That's true. And then we have,
Murray.
Murray Hamilton. Yeah. He will always be the mayor in Jaws.
Always. The best thing about the mayor in Jaws? In Jaws 2, he's still mayor. This guy who should have been ridden out of town on a rail, tarred and feathered, somehow got reelected. Vote for me.
You're going to be the mayor of Shark City.
Yeah.
Especially in part 2.
Yeah, remember me? I didn't close the beach. Kids died.
But they still voted for him.
Yeah, well. He's kind of incompetent, but he fixed the pothole in front of my grandmother's house, and
he probably ran a smear campaign against.
That's right. Yeah. This other guy's an out of towner.
Yeah,
he's from New York City. New York City. No,
he probably ran unopposed.
Probably
did. He was like, we're not going to vote for you. Oh, there's nobody else.
A few palms here. And nobody wants this.
Well, that's what I wanted to see in Jaws: The Revenge. Is Sheriff Brody ran for mayor and Murray Hamilton had him killed.
No,
ooh. That's why he didn't show up in Jaws: The Revenge. Listen, we need to kill that guy.
Oh my God, you're terrible. All right, here's the house.
Yeah.
Here's the house again. Which
See,
like
if
you
I
said
owned
earlier,
that house, that's how it would be lit every single night.
the red or the one at the bottom.
The red.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I would just
God.
like everyone would know.
Mhm.
You got a gold mine, whoever's owning that house. You got a gold mine. You're sitting on gold. It's like when my neighbor who lived across the street, the nice little old lady used to live across the street from us, told when she was a girl, they would go to Ed Gein's farm. And they, the boys would tell them about all the things that happened here. And the people in the town got so tired of it, they burned it down. You're like, oh, you guys, your ship had come. You had a golden goose and you chopped it open. Oh, well, I would have opened a sausage store.
Buttered sausage.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Gary
Of
Busey,
course,
my
there
spokesman.
are so many bad sequels and adjacent.
I-
Most of them are adjacent. They're not legit
Yeah,
sequels.
but then
at
there's
all.
some that are just like, and these three just really Amityville Shark House, because sure, why not?
For God's sake, get off. For the Amityville
Amityville
Oh
vibrator.
no, that's hilarious! I didn't read that when I first saw it. Amityville
And
Karen.
Amityville Karen. So I guess the thing is, you can't copyright this, right? I mean, there is a place called Amityville,
Yeah.
and if it's based on a true story, you think, what? How are they not sued? But how can you sue if you're claiming it's based on a true story?
Right.
So you might make the best movie about the shooting of Abraham Lincoln, but if I decide to make the shooting of Abraham Lincoln Karen, you can't do anything about it because I'm basing it on something that supposedly really happened. And in case of Lincoln, it did happen. So I guess that's how they slip in.
Well, they're not even using the real
Well, that's-
houses and Shark House and Karen House.
Yeah. Well,
What's
that's how
not
we
even-
got
Yeah, they don't look.
those reimagining novels a few decades ago, where Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter and such.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was all because it's
Who's to say he was?
But there are let's see, 6, 12, 18 official Amityville Horror movies. Some of them have crazy titles like Amityville Asylum and stuff, or Amityville Playhouse. And there's Amityville Dollhouse, of course, is one. But
Amityville Clockwork or something like that. There's
but I think
clock.
Amityville Horror. It's About Time. That's the one that's about time. Yeah, but I think there's a Dollhouse, the Next Generation, the remake in 2005. Amityville Haunting, Amityville Silent, and I think the latest one that's truly tied to the house itself is Amityville: The Awakening, which was 2017. Now everything else just used the Amityville name as a tie, like these three. But
I think George Lutz sued the makers of the recent remake, because he didn't like the way he was portrayed. I think he shot the dog or something, which is like, what? I don't blame him for doing that.
Probably, I imagine he seems like a grumpy guy. But the first three, we were talking about this beforehand. Amityville Horror, this one that we're talking about, Amityville 2, The Possession, which is darker than this, and I don't remember it being well received, but it has grown as a cult classic. And then, of course, Amityville 3D is just
it's 3D.
It's Amityville 3D, so it's special in its own way. But then they started getting like Amityville Curse and About Time and all those.
Yeah,
it starts getting sketchier and sketchier. But but there you go. That's our discussion on the Amityville Horror. Wow, that was an hour and 23 minutes of fun.
There you go. Oh, but it's not over yet.
It's not over yet. We got some feedback. And so we'd love to hear what you think of Amityville Horror or any movie, or if you want to just suggest a movie or maybe a top 10 of the 70s, we'd love to hear it. It's easy to reach out to us. Feedback@gruesomemagazine.com is the easy way to send an email. You can leave a comment down below here on YouTube. You can go to our Facebook group. You can catch our Instagram or the website, gruesomemagazine.com. We'd love to hear from you. And we have 3 or 4 for tonight, and these are fun ones. Very exciting. So we'll jump right into them, shall we?
All right.
I guess since I picked Arnold, which I still have not been forgiven for. I will read the first one. Cameroon. Oh, I love that name. Cameroon says, thanks for covering this one. Saw it ages ago on AMC. Maybe it was Bravo. Really weird movie, but it was fun in a weird way. Face, red, heart shape.
There was an emoji.
Are we
there,
speaking
I
in code?
Yeah, I think that's what it was, but it's written out.
Emoji. Oh, I
So
thought it was
funny.
like maybe he's a spy. The crow flies fastest at midnight.
Oh, no, stop. All right. Next up is Dallas Nostromo. We'll let Chad do this one. This is for, where'd you go, Chad? Come on over here.
I'm right here.
Drop right there. Damnation Alley, episode 261.
All right. Dallas says for Dimension Alley.
Oh, no, it is.
I can't remember what started my love for post-apocalyptic films. It might have been the Planet of the Apes movies, or it might have been one of my favorite cartoons as a kid, Thundar the Barbarian.
Oh,
Man.
Hook the Mock.
Yeah. Either way, I always enjoy a good post-apocalyptic film. I haven't seen Damnation Alley in quite some time, but remember liking it. I remember the killer cockroaches surrounding the guy in the car and the mountain men wanting the woman. From the comments you all made, it sounds like the film hasn't aged very well. Oh, no, to say the least. But I still love it. Oh, well, I guess every film can't be a masterpiece like Waterworld.
Yeah.
Hey, I like Waterworld.
Do you?
Yes, I do. And I will die on that hill. I'm also curious what platform you watch Damnation Alley on. I'd kind of like to see it again. Good podcast. I think it's on Tubi,
Yeah.
if I'm not
I
mistaken.
think so. Most things are.
I've forgotten where it is.
Yeah, I think it's Tubi has it now.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Up next, episode 262, Horror of the Blood Monsters, is Manny Lamont, 5757. Bill Mulligan, what does he have to say?
Well, speaking of things to apologize for, Manny says there was mention of the Satan's Sadist film. The opening song for that movie is pretty dark in keeping with the theme of the film. It's covered by Danzig. Also, The Last Unicorn should be reviewed. Warning, it's somewhat of a musical. Also, Ralph Bakshi's Wizards. I think the only John Carradine flicks I watched more than once were Red Zone Cuba, where he actually sings the theme song. Probably would have been covered by Danzig better. And The Howling, the latter of which was riffed to death by MST3K, and it was the worst movie I ever enjoyed.
Oh, nice.
It's pretty sad.
Same film is...
Wait, The Howling?
Howling is not a bad movie.
I think he's thinking of Howling 2.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Or if it's Mystery Science Theater, they did a movie called Werewolf, also with Joe Esterhaus or whatever. And
I'll put it this way: any Howling movie after the original Howling, is not a Howling movie. It's just a piece of junk with the Howling.
Some are
kind of like the Amityville movies.
Yes.
Let's see if I can do this. Abermelon the Mage.
That's the best we've ever done. Hey.
Did I do it? All right.
Yeah.
He has this to say about Horror of the Blood Monsters on episode 262. Thanks. Very interesting.
Oh, he's just being nice.
Yeah. And who knows? We're probably all saying it wrong. For all I know.
Yeah.
That's true. But again, we want to thank everybody for their comments. Cameroon. I'm just going to say it that way. Dallas Nostromo, of course, and Manny Lamont, and Abermelon the Mage. I have to say it very slowly. Yeah. English is my first language. Next episode, selected by Chad Hunt.
Oh boy!
One of those rediscovered films from 1976. Tell us what it is, Chad.
I've never seen this. I picked this blind, so I don't know what we're in for. But 1976, The Witch Who Came from the Sea.
Yep.
On Shudder and Hulu, and not Hulu, but Tubi.
It's a very interesting film, and there's a really cool. Yeah, it's one of those. I forget what they called them. They released like 3 of them at a time, and then like later they would release another 3, and they were like American Forgotten Classics or something like that. I can't remember, but they all got reissued, and there were films that had absolutely been lost. They weren't lost films, but they were basically hadn't been issued or people weren't, and
It's really odd.
it's really odd. All three of the films
Yeah.
that I saw from that batch, because we reviewed them way back in the day, and they were all strange. One was a carnival one, and I forget, but anyway.
How strange is it?
There's a
Hey,
lot.
so
There's a lot to talk
strange.
about this one. It's got, from the casting, the director, some of the stuff he did, and the fact that the VHS cover is a ripoff of a Frazetta painting that has nothing to do with the movie. I mean, it's one of those movies that feels like it fell out of a dimension or something.
It really does feel that way. I think we'll enjoy it. I think it's going to be a really good discussion.
Don't watch it with your grandma. That's all I'm gonna say.
All I'm expecting is a lot of boobs from the sound of it.
Okay. All right.
So
we'll throw a couple boobs your way. Then.
that's the reason I picked it anyway. This sounds like it's got boobs.
And lots of castration, so there's something for the ladies too.
Oh no! All right. Well,
I might get castrated if I keep opening my mouth.
Oh my God! That's it for tonight, folks. Chad, Bill, thank you so much for joining me and putting up with the Amityville Horror. Thank you so very much.
Great seeing you guys.
Yep.
And let's say goodnight.
Good night, folks.
Good night.